Ready for today's deep dive?
Absolutely. Diving in.
We're going to be tackling something that I think a lot of people are interested in, but maybe a little intimidated by, and that is artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
AI for short.
Right.
We're going to go beyond just the headlines, go beyond the hype, and really try to understand what AI is, what it means, how it's being used.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to do that with the help of Viorel Spinu.
Yeah. So Spinu is a Romanian tech entrepreneur, and he's kind of on this mission to really try to demystify AI and make it accessible for everyone.
You know, you're interested in AI or you hear about it, but maybe you don't really know where to start.
Right.
This is where I think Spinu comes in, and I think what's really interesting about him, and we're going to be drawing on an interview that he did with the Romanian Entrepreneurs Group. And he's got 25 years of experience in the tech world, so he's seen firsthand how quickly things can change and how important it is to be adaptable. But what I think is really interesting about Spinu is he's not just trying to create the next big AI product.
Right.
He's actually really focused on education and building a community around AI.
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting about him is, he really believes that, knowledge is power, especially when we're talking about something as potentially powerful as AI. One of the things he emphasizes is that technology should be a bridge, not a wall.
I like that. Now, what does that mean?
It means that AI shouldn't be something that's, isolating people or creating a bigger divide in society. It should be something that's accessible to everyone, and that can be beneficial for everyone, regardless of your background, regardless of your technical expertise. And this is where this idea of digital literacy comes into play, which I think is so important.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Digital literacy in the age of AI. What does that mean?
Right.
So we've got this powerful tool, AI, that's rapidly changing, the world around us.
Right.
How do we make sure that everybody can kind of get on board with that
Right.
and benefit from it and use it?
Exactly. And I think that's kind of at the heart of what digital literacy means in the age of AI. It's like, it's not enough to just be able to use your smartphone. You have to kind of understand the technologies that are powering all these changes and how they might impact you.
So it's about giving people the tools and I guess the understanding to be able to navigate this new landscape.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is Spinu really embodies this in his own work.
Okay.
He's really passionate about making AI accessible, and he's actually created this free AI course that anyone can take.
Really?
Yeah, it's delivered right to your inbox.
Wow.
No technical jargon. It's just really clear explanations of these complex concepts.
That's amazing. So someone like me who does not have a hardcore tech background
Right.
could take this course and understand it.
Exactly. And that's his goal. He wants to eliminate this intimidation factor, right? This idea that AI is only for programmers or mathematicians.
Yeah.
He wants to show that it's something that anyone can grasp.
So he's like the AI whisperer almost.
Right, exactly. And this goes back to what we were talking about before with this idea of community.
Okay.
So it's not just a passive learning experience where you're just receiving information from him. He actually really encourages people to connect with each other, to share their own insights, to learn from each other's experiences. And I think that's so important because AI is such a it's a powerful technology, and it's going to have such a big impact on our lives. And I think it's important to kind of navigate that together.
Yeah, it's almost like the early internet days in a way, we're all kind of figuring it out together. It has that kind of feel to it. And, speaking of impact, we can't really talk about AI without talking about one of the things that people are most concerned about, or at least curious about, and that is this idea of job displacement.
Oh, absolutely.
Is AI going to take our jobs?
Right.
That's kind of the big question on everyone's mind. And, Spinu doesn't shy away from that at all.
No.
He really kind of tackles it head on.
He does, yeah. And he has a really interesting take on it.
He does. He says that AI is going to steal all of our jobs, but it's going to give us 10 times more.
Yes, exactly. He says, and I quote, "I firmly believe AI will steal all our jobs, but with the same conviction, I believe AI will offer us 10 times more jobs, ones we can't even imagine right now."
It's so interesting. It's so true. And it's easy to get kind of caught up in that fear. We can only see what's right in front of us.
Right.
But to think about, if you tried to describe to someone back in 1980 what a social media manager was,
right,
they'd be like, what?
Exactly. No one could have predicted that.
Exactly. And those jobs didn't even, no one could have even conceived of that.
It really highlights the need for adaptability.
Yes.
And this is something that Spinu really emphasizes, is that we need to be lifelong learners. We need to constantly be learning and evolving our skills because the job market is going to change in ways that we can't even imagine.
It's not about what you know today. It's about your ability to learn new things and to
Exactly.
kind of adapt.
Yeah, and he really wants to empower people to not be afraid of that, but to really embrace change, to embrace technology, and to see AI not as a threat, but as a force for positive transformation in their lives.
And so it's both exciting
Yes.
and a little bit, daunting
Right.
at the same time. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's almost like we can't even, we don't even have the capacity to really imagine what those jobs might be, right?
Right. Like we're so used to thinking in terms of like the jobs that we know,
Right.
but, technology has this way of like, completely disrupting industries and creating new ones.
Yeah. And Spinu, I like how he uses this analogy of the rain cloud.
Oh, yeah.
He says, a lot of people, they see AI and they think, oh, it's this big, scary rain cloud. It's going to come and destroy everything in its path.
Hmm.
But actually, he says, no, it's rain. It's going to come. It's going to, it's going to nourish us. It's,
Right.
help us grow. Right.
Yeah, it's about shifting our perspective.
Right.
Instead of seeing it as this destructive force,
Mhm.
how can we see it as something that can be really beneficial?
So to kind of bring it all back, if we're thinking about everything that we talked about with Spinu today, what would you say is kind of the key takeaway? What do we want our listeners to really walk away from this deep dive thinking about?
I think what I really take away from Spinu's work and his message is this idea that we need to approach AI with a sense of curiosity.
Okay.
Like we shouldn't be afraid to learn about it. We shouldn't be afraid to ask questions.
Right.
And we should recognize that it's a tool and it's a tool that can be used for good.
Yeah. And it's up to us to kind of, figure out how to do that.
Exactly.
It's almost like it's a new, it's like a new relationship almost.
Right.
Like we're just kind of getting to know AI. We're getting to know kind of how it works. And now it's up to us to figure out how do we collaborate with this?
Right. How do we collaborate with it? How do we use it to solve problems in our own lives, to make our communities better, to make the world a better place?
And that's something that I think, we're all going to be figuring out together
Yeah,
for years to come.
absolutely. It's a journey, not a destination.
It is. It really is. It's a journey. And on that note, this has been another episode of The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.